Hello everyone, Tutu Mora here with the Y, bringing you tools to feel well in your body, mind, and spirit. So today we are going to be using the couch to help us increase mobility and flexibility in the hips and really in the muscles all the way down the leg. So it can be really helpful to get up and just take a movement break, whether you've been sitting for a while, whether you're getting ready to go out on a walk, or whether you're coming back in from a run or a walk. This is a nice way to kind of stretch, get some things moving, and just feel a little looser and more able to move through the lower body. So you won't need any props today except for the couch. So go ahead and find a comfortable standing position in front of your couch and we'll get started. So it's nice to have a yoga mat if that's available for you, just to have a little bit of a soft surface to stand on. We're going to be using one leg to stand on the floor. Now the other leg is going to be resting on the couch. So I'm going to tilt my screen up so you can see me just a little bit better. And I'll take a wider stance here. All right. So starting with one side, we're going to take care of them both, but let's start one side at a time. So about half a leg's length away from the couch. Now, as you start moving, if you want kind of a greater stretch, you can always take a couple steps back and have a greater length between you and the couch. If you've got long legs like I do, I'd recommend taking it a little bit further back than you might think. So starting here, taking a moment to just tune into your posture. How are your hips resting? Are they a little bit skewed? Are they squarely facing the wall in front of you? Ideally, we'd like things to be squarely facing the wall. You'll have a nice parallel foot and your knee will be facing the wall too. So if you find that it starts to go out on an angle, that might mean that you can take your range of motion just a little bit smaller. So what we're going to do to start is keeping that square pelvis. We're just going to take a little lunge forward, seeing if you can keep that knee behind the toe. We don't want it to go forward of the toe. So taking a nice lunge, feeling that stretch through both sides of the hip. And then we're going to take it back. We're going to point that toe and we're going to hinge at the hip and just take that forward. Now we don't want to round the spine here. We want to keep a nice flat back as we hinge at the hip. And you'll probably feel that stretch through the hamstring there. Coming back up to center, and we'll take that again. Little lunge forward. Pointing that toe, hinging at the hip, and taking that little stretch. We're going to take that 2 more times here, just like we did before, lunging that forward, pointing your toe, hinging at the hip, and making sure that you're not rounding that spine as you hinge forward. Last time here. And pointing that toe as you hinge at the hip, sitting back into those sit bones as you hinge. Coming up to a standing position, once again, just our neutral position here. We're going to do that same thing again, but this time when we hinge forward, we're going to flex the foot. So we're not going to point the toe. We're going to let those toes come up in the air and we're going to reach through the heel just to give us a little bit of a different stretch in this dynamic stretching routine. So let's take that same little lunge forward, nice and square through the hips. And then flexing that foot as we sit back into those sit bones, hinging at the hip, keeping a nice flat back. And you might find that this is a little bit of a deeper stretch, so take this to the degree that you're comfortable with. Rest that foot and we'll take that lunge again. And flexing the foot as you hinge at the hip. 2 more times here. Now it really doesn't take a lot to find that stretch. All the way down, probably even into the feet. Now, we're going to take 2 more here. This time we're just going to leave the foot neutral as we take our hinge. So we're going to take our lunge. Now, while we're in our lunge, let's reach those arms up towards the ceiling, lengthening that whole torso, and let's tippy-toe on that back foot. As we take it up and back, set that heel down on your stable leg, and we'll let those arms reach forward, keeping that flat back, so we don't want to round that back, and just let that stretch come in all the way down the leg before you stand back up, letting those arms rest back down. And we'll take that one more time. So let's find that lunge, letting those arms come up, tippy-toe on that back foot. As you take it up and slightly back, let's rest that heel down and just start that little forward fold, still keeping your flat back and standing all the way back up. You can rest your foot down and take a little bit of a just shimmy from side to side. You can take a couple steps around the room, just feeling into how those hips feel. We'll take that to the other side. Now, your experience on this side might be pretty different. So let's leave room for just listening, feeling into where your range is. And so let's start by just finding those hips square facing the wall in front of you. Noticing how your knee is pointing on this side, whether your foot is able to stay parallel. Now, as always, just do your best. If you find that you're pretty unstable when you bring everything into parallel, that's just good information to where your body is feeling today. And just find your best to even yourself out in order to get into position. So let's start by taking that initial lunge and then pointing that toe as we find our hinge at the hip, sitting back into those sit bones. And then finding our lunge and our hinge. 2 more here. And standing back just in our resting position. And when we take our hinge now, we're going to flex the foot instead of pointing the toe. So let's start taking that lunge again. Pelvis squarely facing the wall in front. And as you take that back, let's take that little flex of the foot and allow that to bring yourself into your hinge, sitting back into those sit bones and keeping that flat back. 3 more here. And again, it doesn't need to be a big hinge. You'll feel this stretch. And it won't take a whole lot to really get into it. And last one here, finding that lunge and then taking your hinge, flexing that foot. And coming to your neutral standing position. We'll take our last 2 with our little tippy toe and balance challenge. So let's take our lunge forward, bringing those arms up, tippy toe on that stable foot as your arms reach up and back, setting that heel down as you bring everything forward, keeping that flat back here, and then finding your standing position. We'll take that one more time, finding your lunge, letting your arms come up, and finding that tippy toe on your stable foot, reaching up and back, setting that heel down as you take your hinge forward. and standing all the way back up. Bringing that foot back down to the floor. And then just again, taking a moment to feel into how it feels just to take a couple steps around the room. And so you might notice that your hips feel a little looser. Maybe your ankles and your calves even feel a little bit looser. And so hopefully you feel a little bit better, able to just carry on with the rest of your day a little more comfortably. And so thank you so much for joining, and I'll see you back here next time on the Wise YouTube channel. Take care.